Hello lads, lassies, and those of unspecified gender, it's the Irishman here, and today we're going to be talking about what would have happened if Gohan was born with a God Key. See, this is a video I've kind of had in the works for, well, longer than this channel's been around, seeing as the first video on this page has the same name as this What If. Because a while ago, I was like, hey, I like this song. It was a Dragon Ball inspired parody song by Team 4-Star, which was pretty fire, at least at the time. I thought it was really cool, didn't want to have to watch ads to be able to listen to it, and thus made a video with that song in it. That way I didn't have to watch ads to listen to it. I could watch my own video. And that kind of started me making videos. I mean, I had already kind of dabbled in what ifs before, but this was the first video I made on this page, and thus started the channel that now has 4.5 thousand subscribers? So I guess you could also almost count this as an early 5,000 subscriber special. But at the same time, I'm also doing this because, well, if everything goes right, today is my birthday. I know, it's the day of debauchery, the day of foolishness, the day of jokes, and it might be hard to believe that this is actually my birthday, but yes, April 1st is the day I was born, and thus I wanted to make a video that I could kind of celebrate that occasion, while also having some sort of an entertaining subject to actually make a video on. And I know, it's kind of weird having two Gohan stories in a row, but apparently he's a lot of people's favorite character. He used to be mine, but then he kind of fell off, so I don't know. Either way, let's get into the story of this What If. So how does this work? How does Gohan get God Key? Well, that's actually pretty simple. We're going to be replacing his normal rage boost with the Godly Key. As in, rather than having mental limiters that restrict him from being able to access his full power, instead, it's going to be that he has God Key inside of him, which in dire scenarios he can grasp at and access. That way he can power up and defeat whatever foe is pushing him to need to get this power. Much like the Rage Boost, Gohan can access this power in dire situations, although it's very difficult for him to do that. He needs to be pushed to it. This isn't his power, it's something sort of separate. It's a part of him, yes, it does come from him, but it's not something he can access but just can't because of mental limitations. No, he cannot access this because his body is not capable of using this power. It has to push itself to be able to. It's sort of like with Super Saiyan. It's a power that is baked into your DNA, it's something you can't access unless you have the power required. As in, Goku on Namek was strong enough to go Super Saiyan, so when Krillin died in front of him, he was able to. Yet, when Goku was a kid and Tambourine killed Krillin in front of Goku, he wasn't able to turn into a Super Saiyan, because he didn't have the right power output. Goku was still sane enough, it was still baked into his genes, he just couldn't do it because he didn't have the right power. Now, Gohan could access God Key if he had the right power to do it, yet his strength as a kid just isn't up to par. So he's only able to access it when he's powered up and enraged, or in dire need of it, and his body pushes him into that position. Well, how does this affect the story, you might be asking? Well, we're getting into that right now. I just had to get that out of the way, that way you understood how this would work. He doesn't have the same rage boost, rather, he has God Key instead. So, Gohan, during the Raditz fight, well, things go a bit differently here. Rather than getting a rage boost that soars his power up to 2,000, allowing him to hit Raditz with enough force to damage his chest greatly, probably breaking a few bones, here, Gohan would have his hair flash pink for a moment as highlights appear in his eyes, and he rushes at Raditz. With the speed of light behind him, he crashes through Raditz's chest, not only caving in his ribcage, but also going straight through the Saiyan. He is dead. And Goku, fittingly, is also alive now, as he doesn't have to restrain Raditz because Raditz is already dead on the floor. Piccolo can't get the kill because he's already been killed, and Goku doesn't have to be now, which might sound like a good thing, but remember, Goku is only at a power level around, what, 450 here? that is nowhere near strong enough to combat with the Saiyans that they are now aware are coming in 1 year's time, as they would still take the scouter off of Raditz's head and listen in on the conversations. Of course, Vegeta and Nappa still would want to come to Earth, whether it be for the Dragon Balls or now because of a child that was able to kill Raditz, as it would probably be talked about around the scouter that Gohan just murked somebody that was capable of 2-on-1 fighting Goku and Piccolo, which is insane for this period in Dragon Ball. Keep in mind, Goku and Piccolo are supposed to be the 2 strongest people the Earth has ever seen, yet they were only barely able to survive an encounter with Raditz, who was only a third of Nappa's strength, who was only a fourth of Vegeta's strength. So, you know, they're kind of screwed. All they can do is pray that in 1 year's time, they're able to get strong enough to defend against this Saiyan threat. But they do have one ace in the hole, that of course being Gohan. Now, it might sound a bit sad and pathetic that the best option they have for survival is a 4-year-old, but Piccolo and Goku both saw what happened to Raditz. After Gohan unlocked that power, he was far stronger than even the Saiyan that was capable of beating the brakes off of both of them. So maybe, just maybe, if they're able to get Gohan to control that power, or even tap into it themselves, they should be capable of defending the Earth against this Saiyan threat. The two would then head to Kame House to begin their training for 2 reasons. The first being that Goku understands it'd be best to have Gohan be taught the fundamentals by Roshi, somebody who was able to mold him into a proper fighter, and should be able to do the same for Gohan. It's best to teach him the fundamentals before getting into more advanced subjects, like being able to control the power that he displayed against Raditz. There's another reason though, like I said, 2. And the second is that Goku isn't sure if he can really trust Piccolo at this point, and it'd be best to have the likes of Roshi and Yamcha and Krillin and maybe even Tien on occasion there, that way if Piccolo ever tries something, the other human fighters will be able to step in and intervene. And while training there, one of the human fighters, that being Krillin, would bring up the possibility of this being a human skill that Gohan accessed. Maybe it's something dormant within the human race, seeing as Goku has never shown any signs of being able to access this sort of power. No human has ever either, but it would make a bit of sense. Raditz didn't really seem too prepared for this sort of thing to happen. Of course, it's possible it's something that is exclusive to hybrids, but it's an interesting thought. So Krillin as well as Roshi would begin training to see if they can access this sort of thing as well. And just to throw them a bone, I'll say they're able to do it to a certain extent. They're able to access some sort of in-between between God Ki and Mortal Ki, which they're able to use to greatly boost their power, making them actually somewhat on par with Saiyans and Namekians. This would be extremely useful for the time to come, as it means the human fighters can stay relevant, and they would also make sure to teach it to Tien, seeing as he was the strongest human fighter before they learned of this. Just because I think it's cool, we'll call this technique Enlightenment, an ability that allows for humans to access every last bit of their potential. Something that even though Gohan was the catalyst for everybody finding out about, he himself cannot actually use. He has something different, godly ki in its raw form. However, humans are able to tap into a pseudo-god ki-like energy, 2 very separate things, even if they sound similar on paper. Now you might wonder why Gohan has actual god ki when the only reason he has it is because he's half human, while the other humans have some sort of diluted version of god ki. The reason for that is because he is half Saiyan as well, and Saiyan DNA seems to amp everything that the humans have. Even though Saiyans don't have any sort of innate godly presence, it would still stand to reason that Saiyan powers amp human powers, which is why in the original story, Gohan has such insane potential. Same with Goten and Trunks. Now getting into the actual Saiyan saga, everyone is immediately put onto high alert when they sense Vegeta and Nappa incoming. Goku and Piccolo are by far the strongest members of the group, despite the fact the other human fighters were able to get more powerful, massively so, they are not capable of reaching the same point of Piccolo and Goku just yet. They would have spent most of their time focusing on achieving the Enlightenment form, and since that was their main focus for a while, they were not able to increase their base strength. So even though they were able to somewhat keep up with Goku and Piccolo, they are still a little while off, but they're definitely still getting there. Goku has a power level of 15,000 in base, a definitely impressive number, but Vegeta is still around 4,000 ahead. However, the fact that they have Piccolo there does make up for that substantially, since he has reached about the same level, only 1,000 behind. The other human fighters are each around 10,000, although Tien is an outlier here, actually reaching 13,000. The same distance between Goku and Piccolo is now between Tien and Piccolo, which is pretty fitting. Now, Gohan is by far the weakest member of the group, at a power level of 4,000 in base. Still ahead of where he was in the original, but he doesn't have Rage Boost. This is his maximum power, until he uses his Godly form, which isn't really a form, it's only something he can do in brief bursts, and only under very dire circumstances. But when he does, it is incredibly powerful, reaching a staggering 30,000 power level, as strong as both his father and Piccolo combined on his own. But really, again, he can only do that in small intervals, and really, if he uses it once in battle, he's probably not going to a second time. So impressive, yes, but is it actually very useful here? Not really. But surprisingly, he isn't actually needed here. Goku would be able to instantly defeat Nappa, hitting him with a clean chop on the back of his neck and causing him to go out cold. He would throw Nappa over to Vegeta and telling him if that is the representation of a Saiyan's power, then they should head home now. Although Vegeta isn't taking it. He throws Nappa into the sky and explodes him with a bloody firework and tells them that that is not a proper representation of his own strength. He is the Prince of the Saiyans and by far the strongest person on this planet, and since Frieza's pretty far away right now, probably the entire galaxy. Now, this is one hell of a claim, and one that they cannot refute. He is individually stronger than anyone there by a pretty good margin. However, any combination of two fighters here, with the exception of maybe one of the humans in Gohan, anyone could take down the Prince. Goku and Vegeta are somewhat relative, and seeing as Goku has a major skill advantage here, he decides to go up to fight the Prince one-on-one. He wants a proper battle, and this is something that Vegeta would give him, proclaiming that this would be the death of the cocky warrior. However, after a while, Vegeta realizes that maybe Goku actually has a shot here, and if he is this powerful and all of the rest of them are relative, he might be screwed. So he decides to pull out his trump card, summoning forth a Power Ball, burst open and mix, and he turns in to the mighty Ozaru. But remember, Gohan still has a tail, and if you recall, I said the reason Gohan cannot properly access his Godly Ki is because of a weakness in body, one that here he would overcome substantially. Maybe he can't access all of the godly power, but something akin to the enlightened form I talked about earlier with the humans would be accessible. Now, it's not the same thing, but the same level of godly power would be accessed here, and he would get one hell of a boost. In Great Ape, despite the fact Gohan is not in control, he would have a major power lead in front of Vegeta. Much like how I said he would go from 4,000 to 30,000, here he would go from 40,000 to 300,000, which, again, is a very big lead on Vegeta's 180,000. Basically, by throwing all these numbers around, I am saying that Gohan absolutely thrashes the Prince of all Saiyans. Or at least he would be able to beat the Prince, that is, if he still had control, yet he doesn't because he has no prior experience with this form, and thereby cannot use it effectively. So Gohan, by transforming into a Great Ape or Ozaru, has become the biggest threat to the group, even in front of Vegeta, who, right now, realizing the predicament he has gotten himself into, would decide to help the group, allying with them to be able to get Gohan to de-transform. That way Vegeta is then the biggest problem again, and he doesn't have to worry about getting killed by this stronger Great Ape. Although, remember how I mentioned Chaozu earlier? Well, yeah, there was actually a reason for that, seeing as when the little magician uses his enlightened form, he is capable of restraining the likes of Gohan and Vegeta even when transformed, although it does take a lot of energy to do. So Vegeta would distract Gohan while the little man prepares all the energy he needs. Then once he is capable of restraining both Gohan and Vegeta at the same time, Krillin would prepare 2 Destructo Discs, each heading for each of the Ozaru's tails, and he is able to land 2 clean shots, taking out both of the transformation requirements, and reverting both Gohan and Vegeta back to their base forms, where neither is really all that much of a threat. Now with the Earth in a temporary state of peace, Piccolo would take Vegeta to Capsule Corp, where Bulma would develop a sort of anesthetic that could keep him down. Not kill him, if they wanted to do that they could have on their own, but a way to keep him in a temporary state of paralysis. That way he isn't able to use his power to blow up the Earth and leave. That wouldn't exactly be the best for the Z-Fighters. And now, with Vegeta restrained, they're able to get any sort of information they need out of him, like the stuff about Frieza or his army, and something that Vegeta would actually think up on his own rather than being informed by Qui is that Frieza could probably find another set of Dragon Balls out in space, specifically on planet Namek, the place where the Namekians, Piccolo and Kami, first originated from. So now the group has a mission. Get to Namek and stop Frieza from getting the Dragon Balls lest he attain immortality and become unstoppable. Dr. Briefs and Bulma would begin designing ships to get them to Namek as quick as possible, with the aid of Kami who would show them the ship that he came to Earth on from Namek. This would majorly quicken up the process to get everyone to Namek, as before this aid, they would have probably taken months if not years to be able to get to the Green Planet, but now it could only take a matter of weeks, maybe days if they spend a bit more time working on it. As well, they would also include gravity chambers, as Vegeta would mention that the gravity here on Earth was way weaker than on the likes of planet Vegeta, which explains why Goku was so weak in comparison to Raditz when he first came to the planet. And even though it would take quite some time, eventually the ships are made and everybody is ready to go. Vegeta would be given half a Senzu Bean, enough to make sure he is still in working order, capable of training, getting stronger and helping them against Frieza, but not too strong where he'd get a Zenkai right away and be stronger than everybody there. They don't want him being able to kill anybody right now, as he really isn't all that morally just yet. They're definitely still in the process of helping him turn good, but right now, he's not there yet. And now, with the Z-Fighters heading to Namek to stop the seemingly unbeatable Frieza, that is where we'll be ending things for today. I hope you enjoyed watching this, as I certainly enjoyed making it, and I am a bit remiss to say that I did miss the deadline by a little bit. It's currently April 2nd, and my birthday is April 1st, although there is a bit of a silver lining. Now you'll believe that I'm not joking or joshing when I say that April 1st indeed is my birthday, as it's no longer the day of jokes, and also, again, my birthday. So, yeah, not kidding. Birthday's actually April 1st, and this is still kind of a birthday special, even if I missed it by a little bit. Hope you all have an amazing day. Talk to you later.